So the first thing I need to do as a leader, teacher that week, is I need to read this leader Bible study. The goal is to get the scripture into my own heart. I want to meditate on that throughout the week. So the earlier you guys can go on to My Curriculum Manager, look at your lesson for that week, and read the Leader Bible Study Guide. Write down the passage, put it out on the windowsill or something as you're washing up throughout the week. So you're just meditating on what you're going to be teaching your kids that week. Those are little things that I do sometimes to be able to prepare for a lesson. So I'm going to read through this. This particular one is on Peter, and when he goes to Paul, he confronts him about basically being hypocritical. He was eating, with the Jewish brothers and kind of, not eating with the Gentiles. Although God had saved all believers, there was no Jew or Greek. So basically, Paul had to go to Peter and confront him on that. So basically, that's just in a nutshell what that Bible study will be on. So I'm going to be preparing my heart in that week. And one of the things I can do is in the margins of my teacher's guide, it's going to have some things that will be helpful for me. And on this particular one, it says to check out the video, The Big Story, which we just watched. The big story picture where he had all the pictures of the different Bible stories throughout the Bible. Just to kind of get in my mind what I'm going to be talking about, the big picture, really. There's also at the bottom additional resources for each session. So I might decide to go to thegospelproject.com. I might decide to visit the ministrygrid.com and click on some things, just especially initially. This would be really good for all of you guys to do. And we will talk about that later. So these are just things that will help prepare me before Sunday morning. And I please cannot stress enough, you have to be prepared before Sunday morning.
You'll see one.
Yeah. So this definitely is something we need to be doing before we enter church on a Sunday. And then basically,
I'm just going to say, I think as helpers you need to read this as well. You won't be teaching the story, but you're going to have to be very involved in it as well. So yes. I think it's a good idea if you all access it.
Yes, thank you, because that is, teachers, and it's just teachers will be telling the story part, but yes, everyone needs to be prepared.
Yeah.
Right, so now, basically, as kids come into the classrooms, we will have sign-in sheets. So as a teacher or helper, I'm going to be at the table just making sure kids are getting signed in. And the other teacher or helper will be in the room welcoming the children. So I might get down the level, hey Johnny, how you doing? How's your week been? Just making sure if they're new that they're being introduced to the other children. So that is part of my welcome time. In some of the classes, there's a unit theme song. So for this particular class for juniors, they have a unit theme song that I want to make sure I'm playing in the background just to kind of, as the kids are arriving, it is kind of a nice environment for them to come into.
I'm just going to, rewind a little bit. Obviously you've arrived at 10 o'clock on the Sunday and you've got everything ready in your classroom and you've got all of your activities ready and the classroom set up how you want it. I think it is really important that you try and get there at 10 o'clock on a Sunday. Sarah and I are usually there by 10 o'clock and we can be there to help you set up anything. Also now we're using the monitor. I imagine there'll be a few people who are unsure about how that's set up. So I think initially, in that first month, June, it's really important that you're turning up at 10 o'clock.
Well, we even had suggested 9:45 just for June, for your initial first month. That would be really good. Yeah. Just give yourself that little bit of extra time. Yes.
Can I just, we're going through a lot of stuff here, and questions are most probably coming to people's minds. When do we raise them? Is it all at the end we try and hold it all? Or do
I would suggest writing them down on your
agenda. I should have mentioned
agenda.
this earlier on because I'm sitting here and thinking about a lot of stuff now.
Yes, thank you, Paul. Yeah, if you guys, on the back of your agenda sheets, we wanted you guys to take notes on that. So sorry, we forgot to mention that.
Yes,
just write down, if there's questions that are coming up in your mind as we're talking, just jot them down. We will have a time when we're going to be opening it up.
I think you might find that as we go along, things come up and you're like, oh, that's answering my question. And we're going to have a break and then there's more stuff coming. So I'll be answering questions, probably the more practical questions after the break. So You can like discuss during the break the burning questions you have, but I'm just suggesting that you hold them in because I think in time and also just the way the presentation is laid out, I think your answers will be, your answers will be found hopefully.
Yeah, we are trying to go through it step by step.
And the only other thing I was going to say that we'd encourage you guys to pray as teachers and helpers together before you go into worship with the rest of the church at 10:30, because it always starts at that time. And then during the worship, we'd encourage you to get your coffee then, so that as soon as the break begins, you can go to the classes and sign your kids into your classes. We would love for parents to come straight away and sign in their kids like straight away. And often there's kids there, and we shouldn't really be letting them into the classroom until all the teachers are present. So yeah, a lot of you do that already, but just to reiterate that. Yeah, and now we can move on. Sorry. So I just wanted to also point out that there is like a theme you'll see of introduce the story, teach the story, and experience or apply the story. Okay, so we're now moving on to the introduce the story section.
Yeah.
And Sarah mentioned this unit theme song that just the juniors class have. So that's the next slide, hopefully.
This is an idea of the unit theme song.
I know this very well now. I do the action.
We had that was like the younger kids version with the actions. Yeah, it's crazy. All of our kids love their music. So this is great.
Next one.
Yeah. So basically, I just wanted to show you what the older kids one looks like, or the kids one looks like. It's just like the same song, but it's got fragments. Yeah. And it has words. And it's obviously those kind of kids as well. You get it.
So those are the differences. Yeah.
And I just wanted to also say, sorry,
Can you go back to welcome time? We're still not.
to also say that is the unit theme song. So that's going to be the song that the kids are singing for the whole month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So they'll get to know it pretty well, and they'll probably be, I don't know, I think they'll be loving it in the end, but they might be more. I'm loving it still, and I've been listening to it for ages.
So you can see on the top the welcome time. We've got different welcome times for each class. So for beginners class, it says over on the your left, I guess, that it will be free play. So we've got the sign in for the parents where they will be given their little number lanyard. The child's name will go on the back with their number. And your class will just be able to play and have the toys out. You can also set up your puzzles, your Play-Doh, things like that for them to do at the table if they so choose. So that is a free play time. The other class, we've got welcome time. That will be, obviously you've got the Take My Life and Let It Be song you can be playing. And you just want to get the kids, comfortable when they're coming in, get them over to the tables. And you can do They suggest a few things. Obviously, we're not going to do all of them. We're not going to have an offering basket. No, yes, yeah.
Possibly an allergy alert, but probably won't be necessary.
Which classes do those link to?
So this is juniors, this is intermediates, and this is seniors. This is how all of the slides are going to be set out. I just wanted to give you guys, or show you that they're doing the same thing, there's just different content. So it's just different. And also so that you understand where we are in it. Yeah.
So if your beginners class is over there, juniors class is at the top, and then you've got intermediates and you've got your seniors. So if you're sitting at a table, you can differentiate. Yeah.
So next one.
Pass the song.
So the next, activity.
It should be a song.
Yeah, there is. Maybe.
Oh, there it is.
That's you.
So now, as the kids are coming in, we're going to encourage them to look at the activity page. So there should be an activity page on the table that look like one of these. Beginners don't have an activity page, sorry. So juniors, I'm going to be, as a helper, going around the classroom and encouraging the kids to sit at the table and just fill this one out, like circle what's wrong here, I think, is what it is. And then it suggests, as I said in the video, that you kind of, as a prompt, that you say, What did you notice is wrong with this picture? In today's Bible story, Paul told a story about something Peter was doing wrong. Listen to our Bible story to hear what Peter was doing.
Right, so the next thing will be basically after we've done our activity page, which will only take a few minutes for the kids as you're helping them. You can then move them, as most of the kids have signed in by this stage now, you can move them into maybe a little group. And I can choose either a few options. I've got one option might be that we're playing a game where I call out the actions for them to do. Kind of like a little bit like Simon says, but instead of me, like I might say jump on one leg, but I'm actually rubbing my belly, or I might say run in place, but I'm actually doing a squat or something like that. So I'm actually calling out an action, but it's opposite to what I'm doing, and I'm trying basically on purpose to confuse the children and trying to get them to listen to what I'm saying and then be confused by what I'm actually doing. And that is basically just to prepare the class for the story where we'll be talking about how Peter was not doing what he was saying, and it kind of ties into the story. So that might be one of the options I do. But in your teacher's guide, you'll have a few options. One is low prep. And the other one, it can be a little bit more where you might have to gather a few materials, but they're all pretty easy materials to gather from your homes. And if there is a material that you don't have, we will be having on Facebook, also WhatsApp, a few groups where people can say, oh, I'm in class this week. Does anyone have a few extra torches? I've only got one. And you might want to have, say, 5 or 6 or something like that. So we're going to be setting those up just for open communication between the Sunday school classes.
Yeah, and you can always email me, but we'll talk about that again.
Yeah, we'll try our best to gather anything you might need. So I've got 2 options to do for the activity time.
Yeah. Obviously the older classes have options as well. I mean, if you feel like there's going to be time to do it, you can do both of the options, but and obviously the Gospel Project are expecting you to do that, but we just don't know, we don't think you're going to have time to do it. So then we're going to transition, actually, they do, yeah, to teach the story part of the leader guide. And so they have a countdown video. You don't have to use it necessarily, it's 3 minutes long, and it's just, the idea is that you're getting the kids to kind of move their heads from like that first introduction to the teaching, kind of like sit down, like maybe go and sit in a circle and be in front of the screen, or whatever you're using, and you're just going to have, you can play this countdown video. Hopefully. Maybe a bit heavy. You want this to calm down.
Time to transition, basically.
Yeah.
So that will be
There's another one that's much nicer. It's
Yeah,
like a bit more
there's-
gentle.
Yeah, well, but that's a good
That
one
one
if
might
you
be
want to
like-
get them up and moving again. So
Yeah.
there's different options of countdown videos. So.
Yeah, and then we're going to move on to introducing the Bible story. So at this point, we're going to suggest that the helpers then introduce the story so that the teacher can then teach it. So I'm going to say to the preschoolers, which is juniors, God gives us rules in the Bible. God's rules are for our good. In today's Bible story, Paul explained how God's rules show us that we need Jesus to save us from sin. We're now going to listen to the Bible story.
Right, so for the younger class, by this point you should be stopping free play, and you can use the countdown video for getting the kids to tidy up. And then sit them in a circle. Circle time is very important for your class beginners. They do really well with that, so you can sit them down. The other classes, you might have them, it talks like small group, large group, you might just have them sit on the floor for the story time, the Bible story time, and then, yeah. So basically, this is an example of the Bible story picture. So I might have Naomi, my lovely helper, hold that for me, or it'll be on the monitor. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it'll be on the monitor. We had originally thought posters, but yeah, that's not happening. So the monitor will be there, so the helper can help with those things. And then I'm just going to go ahead and tell the Bible story. I've got the option of also showing the video as well. or the videos are very short, so you could even do both for the younger kids possibly. It's up to you, but basically, I'm going to refer back to the previous page where I had the Bible story. So I have the leader Bible study on the first page, but on the second page I've got on the back, I've got the actual Bible story. So this is what I'm going to use to actually teach the kids the lesson. And on this particular one, we'll just go ahead. Does everyone have to say it?
No, it's slightly different.
Okay. So I'm just going to read the bold bits on this story, because these are the highlight bits, so that we're not taking too much time. But on the side and margin, it does give me a few little ideas for telling the story. So here they suggest maybe inviting your helper to pantomime, like writing a letter as you narrate. You can just use even props, or you can just use actions, you can do voice inflections, whatever helps your class. So Paul wrote a letter to the people at church in Galatia. So he was writing a letter. You could have someone acting that out. In his letter, Paul told a story about Peter. Peter knew what was true, that God loves and accepts all people. Do you guys remember who Peter is? Does anyone remember? You can get the kids to engage with that if you want. Peter ate with the Gentile believers who were not the Jews. But when the Jewish believers were around, Peter did not eat with them, and those Jewish believers thought that they needed to follow the same rules as the Jews. Their idea was wrong, though. Peter pretended to agree with the Jews because he was afraid of them. Paul said to Peter, "You know that people aren't saved from sin by following rules. They're saved through faith in Jesus. Why would you make the Gentiles think they have to obey all the Jewish rules to be saved?" Paul told Peter, "Our people tried to obey the rules perfectly to make God happy, but we could not obey perfectly. We are all sinners. The rules showed me, but I need Jesus to save me from sin. Because of Jesus, I can live for God." So that's just kind of a highlight of that. And obviously, you can put that into your own words as well. You don't have to read it through, but for today's purposes, I'm just doing that. I do, depending on the age range, I do like to get some of the kids involved with some of that because I think it helps them stay on task. Props are really useful, and getting the kids even to, or the helper to act things out is good too. So you also have the option of showing the short video as well, and it's usually about 3 or 4 minutes, so it's not a long one. So you can even do both if you want to leave it to the jump on the table.
So then we're moving on to talking about the story.
Yeah, there's at the end of that story, it has a Christ connection, and the Christ connection is really, I think, important after you've taught your Bible story, just to bring it back to the Christ connection for that week. And they will be this, it's like a monthly thing, isn't it? There's a theme.
Yeah.
So it's going to be kind of, you might feel like it's repetitive, but it is to get that unit into the kid's head. So this particular Christ connection is just that Peter did the wrong thing by hiding his friendship with the Gentiles. The good news about Jesus is for everyone, and we should love everyone. Paul said that only Jesus can save people from sin. No matter how hard we try to follow the rules, we will always break some of the rules, and so we really need Jesus. And you might be able to even use an example of something you've done. You might, when my kids were growing up, I was always going to them and saying sorry, because I would raise my voice or get frustrated or lose my temper or something. And so I tried to model to my kids that I get it wrong, and so you're going to get it wrong too, and that's okay. It's because we all get it wrong that we need Jesus. So you might think of something in that week that you could kind of tie in. Yeah, sometimes I get it wrong too. This is something that happens for everyone. This is why we need Jesus. So that Christ connection will be after Bible story time.
Yeah, so I'm afraid we'll carry on talking.
Sorry, okay.
Yeah.
So then I will, as part of that.
Is that the Gospel Gems class?
Similar.
Yes, the Gospel Gems is going to be similar for your beginners. So after you've told your story, your Bible story, and your class will still have options for the flannel board. If you want to use that, you can use props for that day. You can use something, dress-ups, whatever will help your class. And then the Gospel Gems is basically the same, like just bringing it back to those simple truths for your kids in your class. So yeah, for the older classes, juniors on up, there will be some questions that you can ask them if they were actually listening. One little thing just to add to the Bible story time for the beginners class is that there is a little song that will help your class when they're sitting down for circle time. And it's Bible story time, Bible story time. Shh, shh, tap, tap, tap. Listen carefully, listen carefully. Shh, shh, tap, tap, tap. And we do this at Bright Sparks, but it's really key for your kids just to get them to transition to this is Bible story time. We need to listen. It's a song. And if you need reminding, I will be there. I can help you. I sing it every week. I do it all the days I've got kids at my house. We just take out the Bible Bibles to say story time when I chime on. So you can use it in a number of varieties just to be able to get them to transition. So now after you've done the story, you can ask questions. Basically, there's a few questions here that I can use on the monitor. I'll have my Bible story picture card up. I will be able to say,
This is the main point.
right, yeah. So this is the main point poster, but there's also the picture card if you remember the big, the story card. So I can basically ask if the kids were listening, and there's a few questions there. On this particular lesson, there's 5 questions I can ask the kids. They will be more complex, obviously, for the intermediates and seniors classes. These are just for the juniors. So, whom did Peter eat with when the Jewish believers were not around? Why did the Jewish believers think the Gentile believers needed to do that? Can people obey God's rules perfectly? These are just some of the questions you want to ask the kids if they were listening. I think some of them may need a little bit of help, but yeah, these are just questions to kind of further talk about the Bible story.
So it also says in the margin, giant timeline, or also in the right big bit, or big story circle. So we haven't at the moment purchased a giant timeline, the massive one that you saw on the video, and the big story circle, which is also huge, because I think it would be better to just get the new one that's starting in September. That doesn't come available till July, so we don't have that. But also we don't have a massive space that you can all use, and they're quite expensive. So we are hopefully going to have something for you guys, a smaller version, but it won't quite be the same as they portray on here. Which will be available in September, probably.
But it will be helpful to be able to point to where the story is in this timeline.
It's a really cool visual.
So we're actually thinking if we can do it digitally, if we can make some sort of banner that we can just roll on a Sunday morning, or we can pull it out. So what that means though is that it might need to go from your classes to use. So,
but we'll see.
I'm going to try to have some sort of biggish timeline.
The main point, so there's the preschoolers one is very, very similar to this one. Literally, like that word is different, but just so you can see there's a difference. So then the helper, me, is going to talk about the big picture question of the story, and that's one that runs through the whole unit. So there's the same question for all of the classes, but the answer is different slightly. So I'm going to help the kids to learn that, and they should know it by the end of the 4 or 5 sessions that they do. So I'm going to say, if we are sinners and cannot obey God's rules, why does God want us to obey Him? And we obey because God loves us. We don't keep the rules to earn God's love. God already loves us. Jesus kept all the rules for us. We obey because we want to show Him that we love Him back. And then we're going to move on to the key passage. So you guys, intermediates and seniors, it is slightly different order, but I hope you can get the gist.
With this big picture question too, it's probably really good. In one of the training videos I watched, the teacher had the kids repeat it after himself like a few times. So why does God want us to obey Him? Let's say that with me, guys. Why does God want us to obey Him? Yeah. Why? Why does God want us to obey Him? Say it a few times, and then just get them to think about it as you're saying it.
And keep going next. Then we're going to do the key passage. Again, the key passage is the same throughout the unit, and slightly different for each class. The beginners do have that little one. It's on a little card on your table, which you'll have it on a little card. Then the kids aren't going to read it, so you'll just be more acting it out and getting them to learn it. And so for juniors, there's actually a song to go along with it. which is on the next slide.
So this is the key passage song.
Yeah, to like help them learn. Just like an enthusiastic woman. The next one is the older kids key passage song. I think it's called Christ Crucified, something. I can't remember. Yeah, generally. You might have to choose this one if you can, if it's possible. Yeah, just that sometimes in different weeks they'll have like different ideas for how you can get the kids to learn the key passage. And later on, when you're doing experience apply the story, there's like a key passage activity to kind of reiterate it and help the kids learn it. Yeah, so there's in juniors there are actually 5 suggestions for activities in class. You should have plenty of ideas here. So you might think when you're reading through it that you can fit in 2, you might think 3, you might think all of them. But you need to be looking ahead of time and just checking like what kind of things you need for each of these, choosing which ones. Teachers, I would say, choose which ones you want to use, and then if there's, so in the margins it says the things that you're going to need. So on the table I have put some lists that will be on the sides of the boxes with, just to give you an idea of what should be in the boxes every week. It's not any different to how it is now really. There's a box for each task now, rather than the juniors and intermediates sharing. And so yeah, you should be able to, there's kind of a standard of what you should expect to be in the boxes. Obviously not all of this stuff is going to be on there. Some of it you might find that you can find from home. In fact, hopefully most of it you will. But for example, one of the suggestions here is toy food. And if you don't have kids, then you probably don't have toy food. But Sarah, who's a childminder, does.
Lots of toy food.
So just try and think like who might have this. Put it on the Facebook family group. It's what it's there for. To say I need this. Does anyone have it? Or ask me. My email address and my mobile number are there. If there's some, preferably if you could get back to ask me by Tuesday. I know it's early in the week before the Sunday that you're teaching, but I work Tuesdays, and it also gives me enough time then if I need to buy something, to buy it. I hope that's not, you don't think that's too unreasonable.
If not, you also have the option to purchase it yourself, and we do have receipt reimbursement form.
Which
so-
Ben will love me for saying. He deals with all of that. Well, that's for saying. But yeah, do you want to just...
Just the fact that as the teacher that week, it's good for the helper to just look and see what might be happening, but the teacher needs to decide which options he or she wants to do. So with the beginners class, you guys have babies. On one side it says babies activities, and on the back side of your page it says toddler activities. So your beginners class is primarily going to be kind of that toddler age range. So, just kind of think in terms of the different activities that you've got there. You might be able to do a few of those with the children. So just prepare ahead of time. Again, if there's something you need, Naomi, or I can do that. So, the other options for the older class are one is write with yarn, the other is make a placemat, There's playing out and having a meal. There's one that's sorting utensils. So there's a couple different options that I need to look at and decide, do I want to have the kids make a placemat that week? So that might mean I need to buy some magazines and cut out food and just let the kids then, glue on and make what they want. So there's options that you can kind of decide. So
And obviously, if you have your own idea, you're free to use it. It's just this is a good resource if you're not feel you're very creative. I've struggled to come out with crafts every week, and I'm really glad I don't have to do that anymore. So another reason I'm quite excited about this. And just to say, there are activity printables. They might be in your margin, for example, in the preschool thing. Activity printables mentioned. So they, I'll show you later on my curriculum manager. So if it says in your margin there is an activity printable, there isn't one for every week, there isn't one for every class. Just every now and then they say that there's an activity printable. It's going to be difficult for me to know that. So if you can just let me know that there's an activity printable, if you want to use it, and I can print it out. So like this class, this is investigate people from around the world, I think.
yeah.
And you want to put the cards down, and try and like pick the pairs of cards, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of like a matching,
Yeah.
just to get them to engage with the overall.
Yeah, and also giving you a resource to do another activity, basically. But yeah, that kind of sums that up. And then for the juniors, they then have the snack time.
And that will be the same well, we have snacks for all the classes.
Yes,
so.
we do have snack time. But it's not necessarily in your leader guide because they think they're too old for snacks, but we're going to provide some. So this is actually, so you're going to, as a helper, I'm going to encourage the kids to wipe their hands now and sit down at the table, get ready for the snack. We're going to pray for the food, thank God for the food, and actually during this time, while the kids are quiet, which doesn't happen very often, we're going to use that time to reiterate the story again and just like maybe ask them questions about what they've learned and just maybe talk about the main point or the big picture question again. Use that time when they're quiet.
The gospel gems will be good to go back over.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a countdown video that you can use. We'll play it.
Hey.
This is a different one.
Yeah, it's a different one. Much calmer.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And it's impressive how they've done it. That's just
So you can put this on as they're like basically finishing up their snack, and you need them to start thinking about, okay guys, I see that, I've come through and I've said 5 minutes guys, teacher do 5 minutes so you know the counting will start arriving. You can get the kids ready.
I think they suggest having it before the snack, but yeah, this is there. You can use it.
Yeah, you can use
find
it
this
throughout.
Yeah, that's it. And then this is transition time, which is where on the back of the activity pages there is, I think it's doubled up on yours, but there's a colouring sheet. So the kids, if there's time, will do a colouring sheet. They can also journal if they like to do that. There's a journal page. There should be an example of a journal page on the table as well. So like this class might just draw, but the other classes could write down what they've learned, thoughts, prayers. It's just that kind of winding down time. And we're going to pray for the kids as well, and what they've learned at this point. So then I as a helper, when the kids are sort of standing at the door, because we're all in separate classes now, so there is a door stopping the kids from getting anywhere. Teacher's just going to stand at the door with a sign-in sheet to sign out the kids and not let them out until the parents are there. I, as a helper, am going to encourage them to line up by the door with their stuff. If they need their stuff like stapling together, need to collect all of the things they've got, encouraging them to do that. And then, the teacher can let them go as soon as their parents arrive.
Now, one thing that I'm going to encourage parents is if I see that you guys are just like kind of winding down and you're getting all the kids ready, to not just walk into the door. What I would like the parents to do is to wait in the hall you will be able to view and see that they're starting to come through with your windows, or they'll be starting to queue up. And what I think is important is, you can use that 3-minute countdown if you want, or just transition them, queuing up, but also just closing them in prayer before you kind of are releasing them to the parents. So if you start seeing parents arrive, and you think, okay guys, does everyone have their papers, most of them in hand? Why don't we come over here and everyone line up, let's just stand over here, we're going to just close in prayer. And make sure you're doing that, and then you can basically go and open the door to start the sign-out procedure. So we're going to try to, that is kind of my role, instead of having the one sign-in table, which can queue up and take a long time, or have the individual classrooms, so it would go faster. However, what that means is I just want to make sure parents know that actually just give them 2 minutes, they're almost done. And once you are finished as a teacher, then you can open up that door and let them out. So hopefully that will help that time. If they're queuing up as well, that means it's less chaotic. Yeah.
And also Sarah will have a table in the corridor with big picture cards. So there's a card for each week these are on the table. I know they're small, but basically they're for parents to pick up, one per family, I'm going to suggest for now. And they can take them home, and then when the kids are having Sunday lunch and the rest of their meals throughout the week, we're going to encourage parents to actually get the kids to think about the main point, the big picture question, the Christ connection, and the key passage. Okay, they've got quite a lot of parent resources, like the parent app, which you guys feel free to get. I downloaded it and it is quite useful. Just gives the basic stuff that's like on the cards, really. And I think it said there was a game. I didn't really understand it, but anyway, it's something that's there.
Yeah. So basically, the big picture cards, you guys don't need to worry about passing those out. Those will be out. Those will be near my table, and I'll have those out, and we'll be reminding parents to pick one up per family. Yeah. So basically, it just means that we are resourcing parents with additional tools throughout the week, just to remind their children of what they've been learning. They can even stick them up on the fridge or on a wall with blue tack or something, just because they are little pictures of what they've been learning, and that might even, they can do their own timeline basically at home. Yeah. So it's just a small additional resource to give the parents. So the kids will then, when they're queuing up and leaving, they would have like their activity page, and maybe their coloring page, their journal page, and a craft if they've done that day. And then it will be the parents' responsibility to get the little cards from the table in the hall. So that's basically, that is...
When all the kids have gone, obviously then you pack up, try and fit everything into the boxes, and then you're free to go. And for the first 3 months, so June to August, there's going to be a feedback form, which we're going to encourage all of you to fill out. It'll be printed out. Fill it out while it's all fresh in your memory, and you can remember what went terribly wrong, what went very well, because it's all going to go really well. And yeah, we'll obviously be looking at that and making changes if need to. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is the part where we talk about what you can expect from us, and how you're going to access it, or how it's going to work practically. So my curriculum manager, I have asked you to write your email address on the sign-in sheet. That's because I'm going to send you a link, an invitation by email to my curriculum manager. You basically then set up an account with Lifeway, who are the organisation that allows to purchase everything. And then it's a bit different than this because this is mine, but I've just screenshotted what I can see. So you're not going to have people, you're just going to have curriculum and groups, and I'll assign you to a class, and then you'll be able to see this link. You'll click on the link and you'll scroll down. There's like a big bit that's got loads of green boxes on it. I would suggest you scroll down to this bit where you can then really easily see that you want to go on session 1, for example, if you're on the first Sunday, session 2 if you're on the second Sunday, blah, 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 and find your leader guide, which will look a little bit like this. So there's a PDF and an RTF where that is. I would download a PDF because I don't know what RTF is, and then you can read your leader guide ahead of time. That is really the only thing you need to do. However,
you can print it off as well. But
I will be printing that out for you
For the Sunday morning.
Yeah, for everybody will have a printed out version of this leader guide in there. Probably just one, so I don't think the teacher helpers need it as well. Then at the top you can see support material, so that's where I download all of the posters, and there's some extra videos on there. The videos, I think for each session you can find in that when you expand it. Yeah, when you scroll down there. So you can watch a video ahead of time and decide whether you want to use it or not. I will then put all of the posters and videos onto a PowerPoint, and you'll literally be able to click through it. It will be on the tablet, so there is a tablet for juniors, intermediates and seniors. There isn't one for beginners at the moment, because I don't think you'll use it. I think we don't have one for beginners. And there is, at the moment, we can review that, I suppose, see how you get on, but there will be a monitor for each class as well. You just need to plug it in to the tablet, then into the TV, I think. And then on the desktop of the tablet, there will be that week's PowerPoint. You just double click on it and press play, and hopefully it'll be as easy as that. Hopefully it's not too complicated, but yeah. That's how you
Just real quick to point out, the first one says, Session 1, Paul confronted Peter, older kids, Peter guide. Just, are you guys clear about the older, younger?
So older kids are seniors.
Older kids will be seniors class, younger kids is intermediates, and then you've got preschool for juniors, and the babies will be...
Babies and toddlers.
Yeah. Okay, just so you know.
Are we going to change the name of the classes
Possibly.
to fit with that?
Possibly. Yeah, I've got my Vicky is my, so we may give them actual names other than what we have. They may or may not reflect that, but the teachers will have that written down for you just to remind you each week that is what class. So.
Ministry grid. So on the first page of your leader guide, and on the bottom corner, it said something about additional resources can be found at ministry grid. So we played the videos that you saw right at the beginning from Ministry Grid. It's basically, I'm going to, again, send you an invitation to join up, to sign up to Ministry Grid. It's the same account that you use with My Curriculum Manager. Basically, they provide a way for me to then assign tasks to you. You have a task list, and on that list will be a load of videos that you can watch and help prepare you for your session. So there's I think it's like this one, is the one that I'll be signing you guys up to. Obviously you don't have to watch it, but basically I would encourage teachers to watch it. It's like a 5-minute video, just giving you a bit more background to the Bible story, just getting you in the frame of mind for it.
It's like an overview, so that you know what you're teaching them.
But there's lots of other videos that I probably haven't discovered yet. So I might assign you to those as well. You can search for your own ones. And also there's the leadership training. I think these two are probably quite useful task lists. When you've watched a video, it will have like a bar, and you essentially complete the video. Once you've completed all of the videos, you'll have 100% completed task list. I think it's because people find that really satisfying to have completed a task list. And then it will disappear and it will go into your archive, but you can't access them again. So yeah, I think that's a really useful resource. You might find that not very helpful, but it's there if you want to use it.
And we will probably assign them from time to time for you guys, because for instance in September we will be starting fresh with Genesis over a 3-year time span, Genesis to Revelation. So there might be new things with the new, updated.
I'll try and assign you each week to the video that's relevant to your session, each of the teachers anyway. But that is quite a lot to do, so I'll see how it goes. But you could always, now you've got access to it, you should be able to find it yourself. You just search for it. And there are free videos, and then ones you pay for. We don't pay for anything at the moment. We've just got the free ones that are available to us. But there's quite a lot there still. And I'm just going to talk about the rota, hopefully briefly, but we'll see. So I'm sure you all know what this icon is and where you can find it. It's on the weekly email, which looks like this, which I'm also sure that you're all very familiar with. I wasn't very familiar with it. And then if you scroll down, you find this, and that's where the rota can be found on the weekly email. So hopefully most of you know which week you're going to be serving on, but I've just put up the template rota that I have at the moment. It's not right. Like, there are some things aren't really set in stone. Some people are going to be in different classes. I've put a few people in italics because I'm not really sure. I haven't asked them to actually serve on that week yet, but it's there so you can see where I'm kind of hoping that you might be, maybe in June. And you can see where the gaps are as well. So yeah, like I said, we were hoping in beginners we'd have 3 helpers in each class. We've got a gap here and a gap here at the moment. But in the summer, we've got quite a few of you guys who are students, so there will be more gaps to fill. There's a few of you who are hoping to just kind of do it on an as-and-when basis, so you might have to fill in for those students, please. Otherwise, it kind of falls on Sarah and I, and that's really hard to do, to manage. It's not really working out when we've done it.
No,
It's just too much.
because we need to be available to help everybody, and if we're stuck in class, we're limited. So yeah,
Or
we're trying to keep
go,
it.
Pip, can you please do it? And he's like, again? Yeah, so if you're looking at that and you're like, I don't want to be in that class, or like, yeah, that's not where I was expecting to work, just come and speak to me. A lot of you have already spoken to me already, but we'll see how it works out. Another thing to explain, that if you don't know already, the second Sunday the people serving the second Sunday also serve on the fifth Sunday. That's just how the rotas work for a very long time, because the fifth Sunday doesn't happen very often. I think in April there is 5 Sundays. Usually there's just 4. But if that's going to be a problem for you, then just let me know.
We can rotate it too, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all to say about that at the moment. Then I'm just going to put you out to the swaps and ministry form, which is also on the weekly email below where the rota icon is. And you can also find the monthly template rota, which I've only just updated, I'm sorry, I didn't realise it was there. But it is now up to date. So yeah, you just want to click on that swaps and ministry form for, well, it will be June. And then I'm going to just show you the questions that it comes up with, because I don't think many of you have probably used it. It will say, are you one of these people? And they're just kind of like the leadership or the core, like people who are in charge of things. So you probably won't be one of those people. So I've skipped that question 2 because it's not relevant to you probably. Question 3 is, if you serve on a Sunday ministry, do you have any rota swaps to make? So what I'm basically showing you here is, if you can't serve on your allocated Sunday, then we really would like you to find somebody to swap with. So in that month, swap for a different Sunday. A lot of you do it already, but those of you who are new won't know that that's what we encourage you to do. We need the number of teachers and helpers in those classes on each Sunday for a reason. It's what is best practice, what's safe for the kids. So if you don't turn up on a Sunday and don't tell anyone, that's a problem. We might not actually be able to do Sunday school, children's ministry that day. So please, it is your responsibility to find somebody to swap with. I know that can be quite a hassle. Obviously if you're sick on a Sunday, you can't help it, just let Sarah and I know. Like, that's unavoidable, but you know when you're going to be serving, because it's on that set Sunday. So you should know, if you're on holiday on August the second week, then you're like, oh, I'm not going to be there. So you say, oh, can I just swap with so-and-so, and you might serve on the 4th Sunday that week, okay? I hope that sounds fair. Yeah, so then here you're going to explain which changes you've made and who you are. And then the 5th question is just anything else you think you should know, which you probably won't need to tell me, hopefully. Everyone else who's on the rota also uses this. It's the way Ben and I like. It's just an easy way of communicating. It's written down, and we've got it there, and we can go back to it and refer back to it. It's just really helpful. I don't mind you telling me on an email or face-to-face that you've made this swap, but it's actually a lot easier for me to remember if it's on the swaps form. So even if you've told me about it, I'd actually encourage you to still fill out a swap form, because my brain can only take so much, and I do forget. And yeah, so I know.
Please just do it. It's the same with John and I. It's, people will talk to us on Sunday, and it's too much to remember everything. So if there is something, it's really helpful if you just put it in an email or do something like that.
And then we're just going to talk about what other things we're kind of expecting.
Yeah, so everyone should have it. Is there Bible study at glance on your table? There should be a few copies there for everyone. You can pass that out and just have a look at it. It says Bible study at a glance at the top. I just wanted to really go through that really quickly with you. I do have. So it's basically just in a nutshell what we're going to be expecting of each of you guys. It's got that first bubble says Leader Bible Study. Familiarize yourself with the content and context of the Bible story and how it relates to God's plan of redemption. For your preparation, some of it will need to be done ahead of time, some will need to be done the day of. So preparation is pray for your kids and gather and prepare session materials. And then basically the prepare videos and the prepare slides or posters will be done for you. So when you get there on the Sunday morning, you'll just turn on the tablet, find your PowerPoint, scroll through it, just familiarize yourself where the different posters are, the different stories, picture cards and all those things will all be on that PowerPoint for you. All your videos will be on that PowerPoint. So just familiarize yourself with the PowerPoint on the Sunday morning. Basically, assemble any supplies that you might need for one of the activities. So if you've got stuff at the house you can bring, that's great. If there's anything you need, we'll make sure it's there Sunday morning for you. You're also just going to pray for the kids.
Sorry, I just noticed it says contact the families during the week. Send them
Yes.
an email.
Right, yeah, so you guys won't be worrying about that. You don't need to contact anyone. Basically, we're just providing with the families the cards, the app, and that kind of thing. So so that part of it you don't need to worry about. That's something that Naomi and I will do if we need to, email parents with something.
Okay.
Yeah. And the next section is just kids worship leader. The master's, is this? Say,
I have a different set.
I have a worship one, sorry. I was going to say, that's not the right one, sorry. Yeah. Right, so I think everything's the same for the preparation. Yeah, so then it goes a small group opening. And just to touch base at the top box here, it says make it fit. So if you're using one room or multiple rooms, it's got different options. And so we are still sticking to one room system. So beginners will be in that one room, in that one area. And juniors the same, you'll have that one big room. You will then have one big room for intermediates and for seniors. So what you're going to do is be just kind of, if it's small group, that just means you might move them to circle time, sitting on the floor. Then you might move them back to the table for the craft or the an activity. So it's just literally you're making it fit within your room, okay? So not to overcomplicate it. But the small group sessions will just be engaging with the preschoolers. That will be the Bible story time, that will be the big picture question, the key passage. All those things are just where you're trying to discuss that with the children, either on the floor or at the table. And basically, the large group leader is just in charge really of the Bible story, making sure you're pointing out on the timeline, which will start in September, not in June. And then the big picture question, the key passage, and then singing songs. So those are just different things that you as teacher and helpers will be helping with, those various areas, okay? So, yeah, small group activities, reinforced Bible story. There might be one of the activities you do, and the snack transition to going home with parents being signed out.
Just kind of.
So it's just kind of a summary of basically what you will find in your leader's pack. So it's just kind of a bullet point. So we will try to have one of these kind of laminated in the box for you just to help you. Another thing that I've done specifically for every single class is I've got a few signs to remind parents. This is more of the children's ministry handbook, which is the next thing really. But just to say that for each class, I've made a schedule schedule, rough schedule. So these are approximate, but they will be laminated and on your box lids for each class. So that, you know, like beginners, your class setup is different because you have free play in the beginning for like 20 minutes, and then you have your story, you have the gospel gems for babies and the toddlers. So it's going to be different to this one. So I've got a separate one for your class, laminated on the box. You also will have a room diagram on your box lid because the creche needs to be separate from the beginners because we've been finding it very challenging having the babies and everyone kind of mixing. So we're really trying to work hard on how we can improve that and also keep the children safe, keep them within their classroom. So the good news is that front room that you guys will now have, we're going to be separating down with tables and chairs, and it has access to its own toilets and sinks and everything. So it should be a good space for you guys. But everyone will have their schedule, so you'll have your free play, or you might have then your introduce the story time, which will be welcome time activity page, session starters, all these things are just here. So these are approximate, so I've given like 15 minutes for the story, introducing the story. So that might be your activity page, your welcoming the kids in, and a simple activity, like I said, the shout out, the actions, you know, jump up and down, that's an activity for the introducing the story. So all that should be about 15 minutes. The Bible story and teaching the story and key passages about 20 minutes. And then for applying the story or experiencing the story, which would include the snack, the craft or activity, closing in prayer, that's about 20 to 25 minutes. So approximately around that time, you should see parents starting to file down the corridor. And that just, that's kind of time. So I'll have these on all the box lids for you.
Obviously, like the times just depend on when we finish worship, when we start the, finish the break, when the parents will come, when the teachers will come, when John and Adam decide to stop talking.
So it's a little longer.
Yeah, but we've got, I think hopefully you'll find you have enough ideas and these things to fill up the time. In fact, more than enough. So, because that's been something we've struggled with, isn't it? Like, I did beginners last week, and Grace Martin was going, "I'm bored," and I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know what to do." Like the Simon Says about 5 times. So hopefully we won't have that problem anymore. So we're just going to talk about the Children's Ministry Handbook, which you've all probably read, just the highlights that those who haven't been serving in Children's Ministry until now.
Quick question. Raise your hands. How many have read the updated Children's Ministry Handbook? Raise your hands if you have.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was what.
70.
That was sent in the email.
Okay, good. Let's see. Good job. Well done. Well done.
Yeah, most everyone has. There's a few of you that haven't, and thank you for your honesty. Right, so just quickly, we want to go through this really quick. There's just a few things to highlight from the handbook, things that we're trying to improve and make better. Basically, there's our vision and the goals of children's ministry, but we are going to skip to, you guys have probably in front of you, that just the classroom schedule and responsibility section in your handbook. If you might remember, or if you're going to go home and read the handbook, just remind yourself, the sign-in and guidelines, all teachers and helpers need to be in the classrooms before any children can be signed in. So again, as Naomi said, teas and coffees, you need to do before the announcements, because once announcements finish, we need you to head straight over. And I know I get stuck sometimes, people are like, "Oh, Sarah, and I just say, can I chat with you just a minute? I've got to get back to the kids area." So you need to be good about that so we can start sign-in. Each class will have their own sign-in sheets. So hopefully the kids will be entering, and then you'll know who's there, and you'll be aware of who you're helping. There are ratios for the classes. So the younger kids is a smaller ratio. It's like 1 adult to 4 children. The older classes, it's 1 adult to 8 children. So we will make sure, that's my job, making sure you're within your ratios. If we have extra children show up, then I will have to step in and be in that class to help, or we will just have to say, sorry, we're full, we don't have any more room. So that's basically what we're doing.